important is tithing to God? That's the question. Stay tuned for the answer. Hi, I'm Renee, and one of our viewers wants to know, how important is tithing to God? Now, the first thing you have to establish that tithing as it's practiced today isn't important to God. That giving 10% of your income to the pastor or the church, because that's not something God ever instructed or commanded Christians to do. So that so-called tithing today is not important. However, biblical tithing, which consisted of ancient Israel offering a tenth of its livestock and agricultural produce, was important to God, and here's why. Number one, the tithe command was one of 613 commandments ancient Israel had to follow in order for God to bless them. Although tithing was important, it was important within the context of the whole law. In other words, God wanted ancient Israel to follow all of the commandments, not just tithing. Number two, tithing was important because it was a reminder for ancient Israel to keep God first. It was the way the Lord instructed the ancient Israelites to show their gratitude to God for freeing them from slavery, blessing them with their own land, and blessing them with an abundance of food. Essentially, it was giving back the portion of what God had given to them. And you can read about that in Deuteronomy chapter 26, verses 10 through 15. So let's recap. How important is tithing to God? First of all, biblical tithing was only important to God in his relationship with ancient Israel and the covenant he had with ancient Israel. Giving a tenth of their land and their livestock was the way God wanted them to show their gratitude, acknowledge him as the Lord of all the land, and to remind the ancient Israelites that God was the source of all their blessings. So I hope that answered your question. So if you want to know the truth and nothing but the truth about the tithe, click the link in the description box below and download 3 free chapters of the Tithing Hoax. And if these preachers are doing what God has called them to do, God will always provide the provision, and there's no need to resort to or to use sales pitches or gimmicks on a congregation.